What's up, guys? Today I will be discussing the Battlefield 5 slash 1 reveal. The trailer was revealed, and then there was a 30-minute, or like a 45-minute conference afterwards. You can find it on YouTube. If you look it up, you'll find it. Just like Battlefield 4 like meeting or Battlefield 5 meeting or something like that. You'll find it. But basically, it describes is well what they want to it tells you what they want to reveal about the upcoming Battlefield game. And yeah, Battlefield 5 is going to be Battlefield 1. It's going to be a reboot of the franchise. It's going to be taking place in a World War One setting, which is really interesting because we really don't find many World War One kind of games out there. And in the trailer, you see zeppelins, horses, tanks, all these new and exciting. Well, not necessarily new because you see tanks in other Battlefield games, but they're World War One tanks. World War One tanks, being a history nerd, were very primitive, to say the least, and it's going to be really cool because one feature they actually, I should probably start out when it's going to be released. It's going to be released on October 21st, 2016, but there's an early access edition you can pre-order and you can get it on October 18th, and then there's the beta coming up. But pretty much, it takes place in World War One, as I said, and then there's the tanks, and yeah, I was getting on the tanks. Tanks in World War One very primitive. They weren't really necessarily good, the best tanks you see. It wasn't just like boom tanks from like World War Two, where you see the Sherman tanks, and I don't remember exactly what the Russian was, like the T-50 or something like that. But basically, they were primitive, and what they said about the tanks is that every tank's going to be controlled uniquely. Every tank's going to be different, which is going to be awesome because that means they're adding a bit of style in that each country, not every country had the same type of technology when it came to tanks. So it's going to be kind of cool to see how every tank is going to be unique in a sense. Another thing that went over was super weapons in a sense, and which you're going to be invincible while using them. And basically, what I see it as, it's probably going to be something you pick up. Like, cause if you look at DICE's Battlefront, you can pick up things like Luke Skywalker. You can pick up like ships and planes and stuff like that. Not planes, but ships you can fly in, and speeders and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna guess it's something like that. And plus, you can get power-ups as well. So these super weapons, they include flamethrowers. You see, I just know they were talking. One guy mentioned about flamethrowers. How are they going to be in there? And they mentioned that they will be in there. Didn't really necessarily say how, but they said they will be in there, and that's when they mentioned the super weapons in the conference. And then in the trailer, you also see a man who's really armored up, and you can tell that's probably what the invincibility is going to be. And I'm pretty sure he's shooting some MG, which brings me, I guess, to another topic: LMGs. LMGs in World War One were not very advanced. They were not. They were capable. They did have MGs in there, machine guns, but they had to be set up. They had to be placed, and there were a two-man crew on it. And they weren't really mobile until World War Two, when it came down to the Browning, and even the MG42, which I guess in a sense could have been mobile. I'm not really sure, but I know for a fact that the Browning was, in fact, a carryable MG. And that's going to be interesting to see because LMGs weren't really big in World War One yet. They were a new technology. They were relatively new. They didn't know how to usually work that into technology. So it's going to be interesting to see how they put that in there. Another thing in the trailer you see is mustard gas. So mustard gas will be in there. Mustard gas means chemical warfare. There's going to be advances in chemical warfare, which means the Western Front. The Western Front will definitely probably be a place in there, considering that's where a lot of fighting did occur. Western Front was basically a line between France and Germany, and war. They had to go between each other, and that Western Front really never moved much. It just kind of went up, back and forth, and never really moved. But a lot of death. The place between there is no man's land, but that's just facts you don't need to know. But there's also but the mustard gas, that includes, that's huge. I guess it's a huge thing to add, because if there's mustard gas, there's probably going to be other gear they're going to be adding. You see a guy putting on a gas mask, and then it cuts to another part of the reveal. But that means if they have gas masks, it's probably going to be gear. It's probably going to take them to gear slot. Like, the best I can come up with is probably like, I'm trying to think of something. But kind of like night vision goggles in Call of Duty. Everyone has it. Maybe it might be a selectable gear perk. You never know. Like kind of like a claymore, you carry claymores. It just takes up one of those spaces. I don't really know. Well, let's wait. And then it's more than just the Western Front as well. It's going to include the deserts of Arabia, which brings up a new topic too, which is the Ottomans. The Ottoman Empire was still around at that time, and that is based in modern-day Turkey. And the Ottoman Empire, I guess to give a little backlight, has existed. So it's like pretty much a long time. I think they rose to dominance in the 1400s, and then they took down the Byzantine Empire, but that's irrelevant. But pretty much the Ottomans were allied with the Axis powers, and that's where you see the horses, and it means there's going to be fighting in the desert as well, and then probably going to be fighting in Africa. So, not to mention you have Egypt, which is a colony in the UK, or with that in Great Britain, so you probably can see fighting in Egypt. Yeah, you see horses, and then you'll see melee weapons in the trailer. Melee weapons, and they talked about it a little bit more in the conference, and each melee weapon is going to be different, which is different perks, and like probably going to be what swings fast, what swings slow, what stuns, what doesn't, things like that. And they also mentioned fixed bayonets will be in the game too, which is really cool because in World War One, bayonet charges were common. If you wanted to rush someone's trench, because it was trench warfare at that time, you would fix bayonets and you charge over to that person's trench and hopefully push them out. Granted, a lot of them were not very successful, but it's going to see definitely an impact in the game. So yeah, the vehicles you see in the trailer are Zeppelins, which I don't know if will be flyable, but you see Zeppelins, old tanks obviously, and biplanes. Biplanes are in there too. Biplanes are kind of unique as well, because biplanes were a new technology brought into the war, and they just started using them to fit into military technology. So they were used as scout planes. They weren't necessarily used as fighter planes at the time. They did have some MGs hooked onto it, but they weren't very good in a sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work that into it. I guess biplanes could make a sense of UAV because you have a scout plane going over looking at things. So I guess that kind of fits in. Another thing they said was coming back was 64-player maps, so that's just returning, which is always, I guess, good to hear. I guess if you're a fan of how many people can play on one map. But another thing they added was persistent squads, which means your squad, if you squad up with somebody, you can move server to server with those squads and never really have to stop and face a loading screen. You can just go to server and keep playing the game on and on and on and on. And that kind of makes sense in a way, because people want you to play their game, and so if you have the ability to kind of skip things, just jump right into battle and keep playing, that's going to keep people going. That's going to keep people playing that game. Another thing they mentioned was engagement distances will be shorter, which makes a lot of sense. Pretty much it's going to be more close quarters. World War One didn't have many advanced snipers. They had rifles, but snipers weren't very advanced yet. You didn't really get snipers till World War II with the Springfield and stuff, other guns like that. And pretty much that is interesting because I know Battlefield 4 was known to have huge engagement distances that were just way too massive. You'd die once and you'd have to spend 30 minutes, 30 minutes is a bit exaggerated, but like you'd have to spend a couple minutes just getting back to the battle, which it'd be kind of cool to see more close quarters kind of stuff, with things going more futuristic and more trying to embrace technology. It's kind of cool to see something more back to basics, and I like that. So yeah, and destructible environment was the topic that came up. Levels will be able to be destroyed by all means. I remember in the conference they actually stated that the level of destruction was getting too distracting and too big, that they had to kind of tone it down a little bit, but they said to trust them and that they were going to do what they needed to do to make it great. So destructible environment will be there, and a campaign will follow many soldiers in different places as well, and it's said to be more focused on actual playing than rather just like a set out, like I guess movie set. They said they were just going to add more Battlefield into the campaign in the video I watched. So yeah. Yeah, I really don't know what they'll do. Pretty much is all this is all we pretty much know about it from the reveal trailer and the actual conference. It'll be interesting. I enjoy games that are kind of more back to basic. I love World War II. I love learning about it. I love knowing more about those topics. And World War One is, I really don't know much about World War One, but I know enough to finally know that they're probably going in a step in the right direction. As things go more and more in the future, games have sort of been kind of getting worse and worse. More and more people don't seem to like being in the future. So I am going to go on a limb and kind of say this will probably change for many. This will probably change many other companies. I'm going to guess that Call of Duty might follow suit very soon, especially since Infinity Ward didn't necessarily want to make or apologize for making their Infinite Warfare in the future. They didn't really apologize for it, but they stated they didn't know that people wouldn't like the futuristic technology as much, and so they already revealed. That's why they revealed Infinite Warfare relatively quick. So I guess it's going to probably change a lot of games and bring things more back to basic, which is nice because I generally loved World at War. So I like COD 4. COD 4 is my favorite Call of Duty, and it was in the future. But World at War was a lot of fun too, and I would like to kind of see things more back to something that is not overdone, because everything's a bit overdone right now with the whole futuristic technology. Kind of be nice to see things come back to kind of give things a rest, and, you know, make something new for a change. Where the new futuristic technology has been the basis of everything for the past while. I mean, it'd be nice to see something different for a change, which is what I'm pretty much excited for. What are you guys excited for about the new Battlefield 5 or 1 in a sense? Let me know, please. Please let me know in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about the game. What do you think is going to be in the game? What do you think they're not going to include? What do you think they're going to even do with the game? Please let me know. Please, I want to know. And as always, guys, please like and subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoy. And I'll see you guys around. Peace.